everybody, Scott here from HeyUGuys. I hope you are very well, and welcome back to the channel. If you don't already, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and give us a little like on this video once you've watched it, and comment below about the film we're going to talk about first, which is the new Ben Affleck film called Finding the Way Back, or if you're watching this in the US, it was called The Way Back. It did have a very limited release in March in the US, but of course because of COVID and everything, it didn't have a full theatrical run, so it's coming to the UK on premium VOD as of tomorrow, which is Friday, July the 10th. On today's show, I'm joined by Mr. Stefan Pape.
Hello.
And joined by Linda Marric.
Hello.
So guys, we've got a few reviews to do today, so let's get cracking. Stefan, if I can come to you, can you tell us about The Way Back / Finding the Way Back?
Yeah, well, it used to be called Has Been, but I think they probably didn't want to have Ben Affleck's face and posters all over the underground with the word Has Been across it. So, well, he's playing a guy called Jack Cunningham, which is a bit of a generic name for a generic guy. And he's basically like a guy who had everything going from at one point. You know, he was into basketball, and he had the potential to go really far, but he gave it all up and he started drinking, and he kind of lost his way a little bit. But he's given a kind of a road to redemption, or a second chance in life, as to take over and coach a sort of struggling basketball team, which on IMDb says at his alma mater, which I've got to be honest, I've no idea what that means, but I know it's late.
Yeah, old school.
Old school.
Old school.
That is old school. And he reluctantly says yes, but obviously it's, you know, it brings out the best in him and shows that maybe he's not a lost cause yet.
The power of redemption.
I know.
Is this movie? Yeah, as Stefan said, I think we can all agree it's nothing we haven't seen before. But given, I'll come to you with this question, Linda. Given that it's quite a personal, let's say personal, it's quite close to home for Ben Affleck, given stuff that he's had to go through in the last few years, very sadly. That this seems like both a redemption of him as a person, but also his career in some respects, because, you know, he's had a few bumps in the road and everything else. So this seems like almost very close to home, that it felt like for him, I guess, that it was something that he really wanted to get involved with.
Yeah, I mean, from the outside, this film really should tick all the boxes for him. It should tick all the boxes for sort of a return to form for him. And he is really good in this film. He's the Ben Affleck that I like, the Ben Affleck that is really vulnerable, that really digs deep into himself to like deliver a really fantastic performance. Unfortunately for Ben Affleck, the script is rubbish, and it saddens me to say so, because I love Ben Affleck. I am a Ben Affleck fan, and I even like him as Batman. And I know loads of people don't, you know, I have taken against him over the last few years, and he's had a load of personal problems, divorce, you know, the rehab and stuff. But at the heart of Ben Affleck's life, he has talent. He's a talented actor, and he's a talented director. I just wish the script was better in this. I really was rooting for it, and I was rooting to really love it, and I didn't. I just think it's so like I said, it's so generic. It's as generic as the name Jack Cunningham. It's a film that desperately wants to be Manchester by the Sea, and it ain't. It's not Manchester by the Sea, which is incidentally played by Casey Affleck, and it's just not good enough. And it had everything going for it, this film, everything, a good premise, but it was let down by the story arc. It's just, man, you know, it's just, do you know what I mean? That's, in my opinion, someone really dropped the ball here, and that saddens me, because I do like Ben Affleck a lot, and I think this could have been his finding the way back for him, you know. So
maybe we should change the title to Met in the Way Back. Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen Ben Affleck for a while, as he's had stuff going on, and obviously in the last few years it's mainly the Batman stuff, and again that kind of didn't go to plan. But Stefan, are you a fan of Ben Affleck, and do you think this is something, for me at least, I agree with Linda, I thought this was one of his best, if not his best performance he's ever given. It just seemed to tick every single box that makes Ben Affleck so unique in some ways.
Yeah, no, I do like him, and I actually think, you know, I didn't have any problems with his Batman, but I think he's someone that has a lot of layers to him, and I think he's better when he shows vulnerability. And obviously, Batman, by his very nature, doesn't really. He literally has a kind of an armor in front of him that doesn't allow him to show much vulnerability. But this character really gave a lot of freedom for Ben Affleck to show off his skills, and I think he was brilliant, particularly in the early stages. I think it's sort of the first sort of half an hour. I thought some of the subtlety and nuance to his performance, particularly when the character was going through tough times, was really well judged and quite moving. But yeah, as the film goes on, it became a generic sports movie rather than be a character-driven story. So they even had the scores of the basketball team coming up on the side, and you thought, I don't give a shit
about any of
this
that.
game of basketball. This isn't like dodgeball where you're rooting for them to win the grand championship. It's like, this isn't a sports movie. For me, this was a story about a man trying to find a way back in his life, and it became this kind of generic sports film where it was like, are they going to win the game? And it was like, whether they win or not wasn't important. It's all about the journey he's going on. And I think the emphasis switched from being a profound character study to being like Space Jam, basically. And I just didn't like the direction the film went. And it was a shame, because I think Ben Affleck was really good, and unfortunately he was let down, I think, by the story. But I say let down, he would have read the script, so he still chose to do it. But I do think that I like familiarity in movies. I like feeling sort of comforted when I see films go the way I want them to, but this took that for a ride. I think I wanted it just to do something a bit creative, and it just ticked all the conventional boxes, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it just couldn't decide for itself whether it wanted to be a faith movie, because it is a faith movie, really, because it's set amongst in a sort of religious school, a Catholic school, and he's having to do all these things to sort of make himself seem vulnerable to the priest who is the dean of the school, and blah blah blah. And I think it could have had a really good sort of a more forceful sort of kind of storyline, but I think it just ended up being just boring old sort of made for TV, and I'm actually really surprised by that. And I didn't see the director's earlier film,
The Accountant Warrior.
Yeah. And I to be honest with you, I have zero interest in knowing whether the team is going to do well. It's not that the story is not about the bloody team. The story is about him. And he's someone who's had this really awful thing happen in his life, and he's trying to lift himself out of it. But its problem, the film, is that it's too similar. The storyline is too similar to Manchester by the Sea. And I think people will be watching Manchester by the Sea and then him, and not to give too much away, because it's not, not exactly, it's just too similar. And people, he's playing this gruff, taciturn sort of blue collar guy who tries to lift himself from the despair into something more positive. But at the same time, like, it's so, the whole story is so reductive, and it just annoyed me. And I'm sad for Ben Affleck, because I wanted this film to be something for, something new for him to sort of do, and maybe get nominated for an Oscar, get nominated for this. I want Ben Affleck to succeed, because he's gone through hell, and I really want him to get better scripts in the future. And please, whoever's got a really good script, send it to Ben Affleck.
Yeah, I would agree with Stefan. I was actually going to say the same thing. It morphs into this sports movie. It was almost like, in a strange way, I was watching the second half of like Semi Pro or Blades of Glory or something, or Mighty Ducks or something. Not that it was a comedy, but it was just like, why are we switching all this? Like you said, the first hour of him, this guy who's clearly, there's something going on, and he's really struggling, and as you say, the nuance and the layers and everything, the way that he plays it is absolutely fantastic. And all of a sudden it just switches to the sports movie. And I was going to say exactly what you said, which is, why do I need to know the scores? Like, this shouldn't be a story about that. This is about him. Everything else is irrespective. I don't care whether they win the title. And almost like, like you said, if they got to the playoffs and stuff, it's like, there's no need for that. There's no need for that.
It also, I just want to know about him. It suggests that his comeback is reliant on the team doing well, which actually reduces it to a triumph in sport, which isn't. This is a personal triumph. And if the team had lost a big game, so what does that mean? That all of this was for nothing? Like, he went on this amazing emotional journey, but we lost by a point to some school down the road, so I'm going to get the blues again. It didn't feel like they put too much emphasis on it that took away from his emotional sort of journey, I think.
It wasn't grown up enough. The sort of the ethos of the story itself wasn't grown up. I think it needed someone with sort of a more of a writing nous to sort of go in and rescue this. And sadly, that wasn't done, and I'm very disappointed. But having said that, Affleck is absolutely brilliant, and it just goes to show that given good roles, he can really, dig deep and sort of, show that he is a fantastic actor. So.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think we can all agree that with a slightly better script, particularly the second half, A, this would have been a better film, and B, this would have been something where I'm sure people have gone, actually, he should be in the mix for awards here. Maybe not necessarily, we're not getting nominated, but it's a performance where it makes you sit up and take notice, and I think it gets lost in the fact that the film's very jumbled and sadly focuses on the wrong things towards, especially the second half of the film, which I think was wrong, but hey, it is what it is. So there's our review of Finding the Way Back / The Way Back, which is on VOD from Friday the 10th of July in the UK. I think it's out on Blu-ray and stuff in the US anyway, because obviously the release was earlier, but it's available in the UK on VOD as of tomorrow. Stefan, what's your rating for this one?
Yeah, I give it 2 stars, I think, for this one. And I should just put a disclaimer before we go as well to say that if you are called Jack Cunningham, I love your name. Don't let anyone like us tell you. You are unique.
Yes, you are very unique. Linda?
2.5. Go on. 2.5. I am going to be a little bit more generous, just because I think Affleck does rescue it from being a complete bust, and it's very watchable. But for people like us who want to be challenged more, I think it just doesn't do what it set out to do, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm in the same ballpark as you guys. Yeah, it's disappointing. It's very disappointing in the sense that it's such a good performance in a very muddled film. So yeah, it's a shame. But it's good to see Ben Affleck back on the big screen and tackling something that's not him kicking criminals in the face or something. That's Batman. So there you go. As ever, if you like this video, give us a little thumbs up and a like, and make sure you subscribe to the channel. And also give us a comment below whether you saw the film or watched the film when it comes out. Did you like it? Did you disagree? Did you agree? Etc. Etc. And head over to HeyUGuys.com for all of your film, TV, and everything else needs. There's some great interviews, features, reviews, etc. on there at the moment. Until the next review, which will be very soon. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys.
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey, you guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yeah.
Nice.
Hey!